Hey folks, Ira here. I hope you've had a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in for the Earthquake Report. Today is April the 10th, 2016. Today is also known as Golfers and National Siblings Day. I think it's funny that we have a specific day set aside for golfers when every day is Golfers Day. Yep. Before we discuss today's events, let's quickly review earthquake activity from the past 2 days. On April the 7th, we discussed the earthquake data and how we were trending for a reduction of the more intense earthquakes. It was also stated that we could expect a return to some sort of normalcy. With that being said, if we look at Friday, April the 8th, we can say that for the most part, that rang true. We clocked in 249 earthquakes for that day, the strongest being a 5.3 that struck Bristol Island, care of the South Sandwich Islands. We followed that up with a 5.1 that hit the Pacific and Arctic Ridge. With the exception of a few locations, we can say that everything appeared to be normal. However, there were some oddities. For example, Littlefield, Arizona registered a noteworthy 3.4. This was the strongest earthquake they have experienced this year, and it is the largest in a recent swarm of earthquakes in the northwest Arizona and along the Arizona-Nevada line. For those of you just joining us, if you aren't familiar with this swarm, I definitely recommend that you review our video from March the 18th. Anyways, not only did this earthquake rattle the area, but additional earthquakes have been documented. In fact, 19. The official survey states that the swarm began on March the 29th. However, we have identified an uptick going back to March the 3rd. The consensus believes that these earthquakes are the result of numerous active and recently discovered faults. We'll definitely keep our focus on this area going forward, but between you and I do not believe that we have seen the end of the swarm. Montana clocked in 6, the most intense being a 2.0 that struck Butte. This was apparently an explosion of sorts at a rock quarry. Interesting. Finally, the New Madrid seismic zone experienced movement care of Steele, Missouri, and Tiptonville, Tennessee. Those were clocked in at a 1.6 and a 1.8. Outside of this, all appeared to be normal. If we look at yesterday's events, though, we began to witness changes. Only 182 earthquakes clocked in. That's a 27% drop in movement from the previous day. If we peel back the layers, we'll find that locations like California experienced a drastic reduction in earthquakes. The Golden State went from 135 earthquakes on April the 8th to only 62 yesterday. That's a difference of 55%. You know, as we have been studying earthquakes, we have come to the conclusion that periods of inactivity typically precede a noteworthy event. Keep this in mind as we progress into today's earthquake information. The strongest earthquake to strike yesterday hit New Zealand. This was a 5.0. As the day progressed, we experienced some interesting and noteworthy earthquakes begin to rattle the globe. In fact, Ecuador experienced a 4.9, Kyrgyzstan registered a 4.7, Guatemala was hit with a 4.5, Saudi Arabia clocked in a 4.5 as well, and in our backyard, Medford, Oklahoma was shaken by a 4.0. Washington State continued to experience an uptick in earthquakes, though. 8 clocked in, with the majority of which hitting Morton. This was a 38% increase over the previous day. In conclusion, as of April the 9th, we experienced a substantial reduction in earthquakes in most areas, but at the same time, we also experienced movement in just about every tectonic plate. With that being said, let's look at today's activity from around the globe. As of 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we have clocked in 134 for the day, the strongest being a 6.6 that struck Afghanistan this morning. This earthquake has caused all sorts of havoc across a number of major Southwest Asian cities. If you wish to learn more, make certain to check out our special report that we posted earlier today. Anyways, it is my estimation that yesterday's earthquake quiet is related to this event. In a lot of occasions, this indicates mounting pressure along various faults and plates. Normally, this will result in an earthquake swarm of sorts or a rather potent earthquake. So with that being said, it makes perfect sense that we experience an earthquake of this magnitude. Outside of this, we have seen an impressive number of magnitude 5 earthquakes as well. Indonesia was just struck with a 5.7, a 5.4 just hit Bengkulu, Alaska, and Easter Island registered a 5.2. We also clocked in a 5.4 in San Pedro, Mixtepeca, Mexico. We have also experienced quite a few magnitude 4 earthquakes rattling the globe. Papua New Guinea was shaken with a 4.9 and a 4.5. Kali, Indonesia, registered a 4.4, and Bengkulu again was hit with a 4.4. Japan experienced a 4. Russia clocked in a 4.1, and Alaska, care of Amatijnek Island, just experienced a 4.2. Algeria experienced movement along the Arabian and the Indian plates today as well. This was a 4.8 that struck An Besem. This too makes sense, as we have seen the Indian plate releasing pressure along the Eurasian plate, care of the earthquake that hit Afghanistan this morning. Finally, we see that Chile clocked in a 4.8 and Argentina with a 4.3. Seismically hot spots remain quiet today, though. Hawaii has only had one earthquake, a 1.9 that struck the volcano, and Alaska in total has only clocked in 19. Washington and Oregon both have been relatively quiet. In fact, Oregon hasn't experienced any movement whatsoever, and Washington has only clocked in 3. Coopville with a 1.2, Granite Falls with a 1.5, and a 1.1 in Maplewood. California has only experienced 62 thus far. The Elsinore and San Jacinto faults took the brunt of the movement, though, with multiple swarms being clocked in. The strongest quakes to strike the state had epicenters in Pine Mountain Club and Little Lake, both being a 1.8. The geysers experienced the most earthquakes today, 14 in total. Nevada has only clocked in 23, 19 of which struck Hawthorne. The most intense to hit the Silver State was a 1.3. These are indeed interesting times, and there are a lot of uncertainties as to what is coming our way. We continue to experience movement at nearly all locations around the globe. The Pacific, the Indian, the Arabian, Caribbean, South American, North American, Eurasian, Philippine, and Australian plates are all being moved. With that being said, keep your eyes open and be prepared. And that is it for the earthquake report. If you experienced an earthquake today, or if you would simply like to chat, please post down below. We'd like to hear from you. Make certain to like and subscribe, share if you feel inclined. Also, if you like the social media thing, you can link to us via the standard allotted social sites in the description. We'll end this report with a video feed from our favorite star. Have a great night, guys. Hoorah!